Hello everyone, Lauren from A Girl and Her Wool here. Welcome back to my channel. Here on my channel, I talk about all things behind the scenes of running my small business, crafty yarn shop. So if you're interested in that, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. I'd love to have you here in this community. So all spring long, we had a knit along where we worked on socks using different yarns that were dyed with different techniques. So speckled yarn, variegated yarn, self-striping yarn, tonal yarn. I get asked all the time, probably my most asked question is, how do I know what yarn will look like when it's knit up? Or if I'm dyeing yarn, how do I know how to dye to get like a certain look? So I've been really excited to talk about this over the last few months, just looking at the different styles of yarn dyeing and how it works up into socks. Socks are a great just kind of palette to show, you know, how yarn will knit up, especially when we do stockinette. So it's just been a blast. And today we're wrapping up self-striping yarn. So I have my finished socks. I will be sharing some of your finished projects, and then at the end we will be picking the winners of the knit along. I might do that. I might be dressed differently at that time. I might record that separately just because I want to put everything together and all of that, and I am not prepared to do that at the moment, so just FYI. All right, so earlier in June, I believe it was early in June, I posted a vlog that I'll leave linked to below where I talked about my thoughts on self-striping yarn. In that vlog, I actually showed a lot of self-striping socks that I have knit. So I won't be doing that today. I've been doing that in the wrap-up vlogs. For some reason, I did it in the intro vlog, but I'm going to share my socks, some of my kind of wrap-up thoughts, and your projects in this vlog. But I'll leave a link down below to the whole series that you can kind of watch back and see how, you know, all of the different dye techniques turned out. If I missed anything, definitely let me know. Feel free to comment below with your thoughts as well. But let's talk about self-striping yarn. In my shop, I did offer up a March into Spring box where I dyed up a variegated yarn, a speckled yarn, and a self-striping yarn. I also offered up a contrast tonal to use for, you know, your socks as well. And the idea of it was that for me, at least my plan, you guys can, you know, do what you want, but my plan was to use that tonal as the contrast for all of the other 3 pairs of socks. So that way when it's in my sock drawer, or really for me, my sock shelf, or really my sock pile that sits on a shelf, because I can never keep those socks organized, but you know, I love the organized pictures of sock drawers on the internet. I just will never live that life, just gonna be real. So yes, in my sock pile on my shelf in my closet, I thought it would be really cool that the 3 pairs will have matching heel cuffs and toes to just, you know, remind me of this fun box and the fun time that we had with this knit along. So anyway, here is my pair of self-striping socks. So a lot of things to say about this. So one, the colorway here, what did I name it, people? The tonal is azaleas. It is some flowery name. It was tulips, snapdragon. I don't know, let's see if you guys talk about it in your post. So pansies, thank you, Rochelle, Mind Your Gap Trip, for actually putting the name in the post. A lot of you did not remember, like me, so. The self-striping yarn was pansies, the contrast tonal was azaleas, and these are my self-striping socks. So a few things to talk about. One, this was the very first colorway other than my samples and testing and all that. This was my first official self-striping colorway that I offered and sold to customers. So that was a really big deal for me. It's very exciting. You can see it's very springy. The striping sequence is a darker kind of periwinkle blue, a purple, a kind of sky blue, and then like a sage leafy green. It's a little bit darker on camera than it is in real life, but it's those 4 colors, and then this is the contrast tonal. I did stockinette socks. I actually brought this with me on my trip to the Pacific Northwest. We drove around a lot and we were also sitting at the track meet for a lot. So I worked on them there. I actually was like, hey, want to be on TV? And then I pulled out my socks because like, I feel like at every sporting event when there's like someone knitting, they show it on TV, like, and they like pretend like the person would rather be anywhere than at the game. But we all know that like, we like to knit and watch sports too. But anyway, I have no idea if me knitting is on TV. But anyway, so I did my regular vanilla socks. So I did them toe up, fish lips, kiss heel, my regular size, 2x2 cuff, kind of my regular way to do things. A lot of times with vanilla socks or with self-striping in particular, I will make 2 balls of yarn and do them 2 at a time. I did not for this. I was not that prepared before leaving on my trip. So I just did it 1 at a time. And otherwise they were self-striping yarn and a vanilla sock, and it was a lot of fun to see the stripes come up. You can tell each stripe is kind of my standard way of doing tonals, where you kind of get lighter and dark bits. So it's kind of nice that it's almost like a artsy, not like artsy, but if someone like drew it versus it being like perfect tonals, which was really fun and I felt like my style. So anyway, self-striping yarn in general is something that I would love to bring into my shop more regularly. There are a few ways I could go about doing it, and I am thinking about all of those ways. I don't necessarily think I will have them anytime soon on a regular basis, but they might be kind of special items similar to how I offer them up as a one-day kind of one-day opportunity during my anniversary sale back in May. I offered up a couple of colorways. So yeah, keep an eye out for self-striping yarn in the shop. Again, a couple of ways I could do it, and I will talk about more of that when it's happening. And right now it is not. So again, I talked a lot about self-striping yarn when I did the intro at the beginning of the month. So go check that out. One thing that I really kind of did not talk about at all is dealing with the color change in the stripes. So you can see I did not do a pattern, but I showed lots of ones where I did do patterns. One thing that I will mention is we know that when you purl, there are purl bumps, right? So that's what a purl is. You get the bump, right? So when we look, knits are these guys, and the purls, we get purl bumps. When you do a color change, so if you're doing a color change with 2 different colored yarns or self-striping yarn, if you were to have purl stitches along a color change, the purl bumps would show a little bit funky in that they would have a little bit of the new color and a little bit of the old color. If you don't know what I mean, and you've knit something with more than one color, just go look at the wrong side. So if you've done a sweater that has more than one color, or striping socks with 2 different colors, just look at the wrong side and you get, you know, the stitch that you're working that's in the old color, but you're making the knit stitch or the purl stitch with the new color. And so you kind of get a strand of both in your stitch knotted together, right? That's like how knitting works. So one thing to kind of think about with self-striping yarn is how to deal with that. So in particular, when I do self-striping yarn and I'm doing my ribbing, I knit the whole round at the color change. So when I did mine toe up, I got to here, I would have had a knit 2, purl 2 in between kind of the blue, so the main colorway, and the contrast. What I did, so that I wouldn't get the weird colors where you would kind of see the wrong side of the striping, is I knit the first round of pink. So you can't even tell when you look at the sock, you wouldn't know that I knit a round of pink. It just looks like a pink cuff. But that's something that I do because I don't like the look of having a half blue and half pink stitch. I've done patterns before too that have knits and purls in there, and I do the same thing at the color change. I just would knit a row around. So something like blueberry waffle socks or like Hermione's everyday, you may or may not care. It might not bother you, but it's an option to kind of make sure you knit the entire round. If I did my cuff, and I didn't bring any of the samples, but if you go back to that other vlog, I had plenty of self-striping socks where I didn't do a contrast heel, cuff, or toe. In those cuffs that were self-striping yarn, so I talked about the first row was all knit. Let's say I had kept going. So let's say instead of the blue here, I would have had, or pink, I would have had like a green stripe here. When I got to that green stripe that would now become blue again, in the middle of my cuff, I would knit a row around. You really don't see it. The ribbing kind of still holds its ribbing nature of being stretchy. The one row doesn't seem to interfere. For me, it doesn't bother me. If it's something you really need the stretchiness in the cuff, and having a knit row in the middle there would bother you, that's something that, you know, you knit your own socks for a reason, so make them how you like it, but that's what I do. So that way when you look at the cuff, you really only see the stripes. You don't see where the colors are changing. So I wanted to mention that because I didn't mention it last time, but I would love to know if you guys do that or something similar, or if you enjoy seeing the color changes kind of show up with the purl bumps. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, I will happily talk about this more in the future. So just let me know. But next I'm going to show off some of your projects. So first up is Sheila MCL, who knit up a Ukraine inspired colorway. This yarn is not A Girl in Her Wool. This is Polka Dot Creek yarn. And the pattern she did was Magic Heel Socks by Autumn Acorn. So very cool socks. Love the tribute to Ukraine. And her comments is that she did a magic heel. She wanted to do these magic heels so it wouldn't interrupt the stripe sequence. So we talked a lot about interrupting the stripe sequence in the last vlog. And this is great because I didn't know this pattern. So that's another great way to not interrupt your stripe sequence when you knit your heel. She also mentioned she would have also done, so she did contrast toes. I can't see the heels if she did a contrast heel, but she did contrast toes, and she said she would have also done contrast cuffs too, to just further show off the stripes. So very cool, and thank you so much for sharing those. Next up we have Woodsy Knitter, who, again, this is not A Girl in Her Wool yarn, but it doesn't say who it is, who the yarn is by. This is not A Girl in Her Wool yarn though, so I just want that to be out there. But it's a beautiful pair of yarn that looks like, or a pair of socks where it looks like the yarn has like speckling of the same color on it in the stripe, which is very cool. She did a basic woven stitch pattern to give it some texture, but you still see the striping. She said if she'd done stockinette, it probably would have shown off those speckles in the stripes a little bit better, but I think they look great. So Amber, Ambi M Knits, she did the heel toe do-si-do socks by Crazy Sock Lady. She did the Pansies colorway with the azalea contrast, so that's the colorway I did as well. And yeah, they look great. I love how it's a basic chevron pattern. I also forgot to share that in my vlog, so I'll put up a photo here. One of the first self-striping patterns I did was a chevron pattern socks. I gifted those socks to my mom, so that's probably why I forgot about them last time, because they weren't in my closet. But another great self-striping pattern to do is a chevron, so it kind of makes the stripes look really cool, but it's just increases and decreases, so you don't really have too much difficulty with it, but really cool results. So definitely check that out as well. But Amber did the heel toe do-si-do socks. So You've Got to Be Kidding did the same colorway with no contrast, so just the self-striping yarn. And she did a vanilla sock with a short row shadow wrap heel. So another heel that I don't know. The Fish Lips Kiss heel is also a short row heel, so it just is probably a different way to do the wrap and, you know, the turns and stuff. But again, fun colorway with no contrast, so you can kind of see the difference in it. So something that's interesting about this one is you see the stripe sequence does get interrupted, but as I talked about in that blog, usually that doesn't bother me at all. So you can kind of see close to the heel, you know, you kind of lose the green because the green and the darker blue or the brighter blue are in the heel, and as well as some of the purple, as well as you see them kind of get thicker in the toe as it goes around, because again, you're getting less stitches around your circumference, so the stripe is getting longer. Those are just reasons. Maybe if you like that, then great. And if you don't, then using a contrast is a great option. So thank you for sharing those. So next is Mind Your Gap Trip. So again, Rochelle, thank you for putting the colorway name in there. So she did the same colors that I did. So the March into Spring color with the contrast tonal. She used the Lofty Loops Cold Brew Socks pattern. I can't necessarily tell if the pattern, it looks like it's a stockinette pattern, but correct me if I'm wrong there. But anyway, they look great. And she enjoyed how the stripes had, you know, kind of that tonal feel of having not super solid stripes. And that is that. So thank you all so much for sharing those photos with all of us. If I missed anything about self-striping yarn, definitely leave a comment down below. We'll go into the winners now. Congrats to the winners. I'll talk about it in the next clip. But I just want to say overall, thank you all so much for participating. I know that I wasn't the best knit-along host in that I didn't necessarily keep up with it the best along the way, but such is life. I did the best I could. I hope you guys all had fun and most importantly enjoyed the yarn. And if you learned something new throughout all these vlogs, that is great as well. And I'm really happy to talk about all these things with you. So keep an eye out for everything going on at A Girl in Her Wool by following me on Instagram. And without further ado, let's talk prizes. Okay, now to announce the winner. So thank you everyone so much who participated in this knit along. I'm really grateful to have all of you. Had quite a few people who were entered for prizes. There were in total 238 entries. Really excited about that. So you earned extra entries if you used A Girl in Her Wool yarn. You also earned extra points if you used the March into Spring yarn, whether it was progress photos or the finished object photos. I've already did the random number generator separately, and so I'm excited to announce the winners. Pretty much the prizes is a ready to ship skein of yarn from my shop, agirlandherwool.com. It kind of has to be ready to ship. I won't do a custom order, but I will have the prizes, you know, you have through, so it's July. So you'll have through the end of this year to claim this prize. So if you don't see something in the shop now, but you might see it later this year, you know, you have time to decide. Don't feel like you have to pick something today, although you're more than welcome to. But if, you know, once July or December 31st comes and goes, your prize will kind of be forfeited. So anyway, gonna run through the prizes here. I also have some project bags that I put away, so I don't have them to show up, but I showed them in the last. So the first winner is Rochelle. So thank you so much for participating. So you will receive the skein of yarn and the project bag. I will ship them together. So if you wait, you're waiting to receive the project bag as well. So yes, you will receive the skein of yarn and a project bag. So once you have the yarn picked out, let me know, and just remember you have some time to decide. So the second winner is Denise. So thank you so much again for participating as well. So you will also receive a skein of yarn of choice that's ready to ship from my shop, as well as one of the project bags. The third winner is Amber, and Amber actually made the project bag. So Amber, I will, unless you want the bag back, well actually no, I already picked a different winner. So you will not be receiving the project bag back. I will just give you a skein of yarn of your choice from my shop. So, you know, let me know what you want there. And then because I had the extra bag to give away, the extra winner is Sheila. So Sheila, you are the winner of the last project bag. So I just want to say thank you again to everyone who participated, whether you did the knit along and you did it with the March into Spring box, or you just purchased the box, or you participated with not even a girl in her wool yarn or whatever it is. Thank you, thank you, thank you all. It was a blast. I know I had a lot of fun making these videos online with talking about the different styles of dyeing, or the different styled yarns and how they were dyed up and how that knits up. So I hope you learned something and enjoyed hearing about all that as well. So anyway, that is it for this vlog. Thanks so much for watching, and I will talk to you all soon. Bye.